Happy New Year and welcome to the first edition of the Gavel on Channels Television for the year 2026. I'm Terry Ikumi. Now, we anticipate a very political year as we prepare for the 2027 general election. But let's hope that Parliament doesn't slow down on its responsibilities for politics. Now, the Electoral Act is the backbone of Nigeria's democracy. It spells out the rules for free, fair and credible elections, from voter registration and party primaries to polling, counting and dispute resolution. And now, by setting clear timelines, funding mechanisms and penalties for misconduct, it helps curb fraud. It ensures equal opportunities for parties and builds public confidence in the outcome. In short, a strong electoral act safeguards the will of the people and keeps the nation's political system accountable and transparent. Well, that bill has been passed in the House of Representatives, but not yet in the Senate. And it's only right to take you through the process of its passage in the Green Chamber, especially the consideration of the report of the committee after holding public hearings and several engagements with stakeholders. So you get to see how your representatives reacted to and voted on several clauses of the bill. Now, for the next couple of weeks, the Gavel will take you through that, so let's begin. The report was presented by the chairman of the Committee on Electoral Matters.
The need for the new Electoral Act arises from the lessons learned from the 2023 general election and the subsequent off-cycle elections. While the Electoral Act 2022 laid an important foundation, gaps were identified in areas such as technological development, election security, political party primaries, logistics, inclusion, and dispute resolution. The bill therefore seeks to provide clearer legal guidance, strengthening INEC regulations and the operational autonomy, deepen transparency, and safeguard the voting process of Nigerians. The proposed bill introduces stronger provisions in the use of technology, especially beavers and electronic transmission of results, enhance internal party democracy, provides a harmonized security framework for elections inter alia. This reform aligns with the global best practice and reflects broader national consensus. Honorable colleagues, the committee recommends the passage of the bill with the amendments herein presented. We are convinced that the Electoral Bill 2025 will significantly improve the credibility, transparency, and peaceful conduct of our elections. Chairman, the areas of focus shall be the middle column, where the recommendations are. The middle columns are the recommendations for the 2025 bill, and the words and sentences highlighted are the major alterations that we actually made.
After that, the Deputy Speaker, who was the chair of the Committee of the Whole, guided the conversation as concerns were raised on several clauses in the bill.
The document before you might look voluminous, but most of the things in that document was retained. We are only going to focus on the ones that was touched by the committee. We are going to focus on those highlighted ones, so don't bother yourself with the whole document because they were retained. But when we get to those highlighted ones and you have any issue, you can raise it. Because you see, consideration of reports is not a time for debate. We have done second reading on these bills that we are going to look at now, clause by clause, starting from the title of this document till the last page. We will go through it, but we will pay more attention to those ones that have been highlighted as provided by the committee.
If you make reference to section 29, subsection 5 of the Act, it was not highlighted, but it requires some amendment. There are some preponderance of places that were not highlighted, but it requires the attention of the legislature in order to make proper attention so that we can correct areas that needs to be corrected, which were oversighted by the committee. I think the chairman is in agreement with my position, like section 29. It was not highlighted, but there is the need to make some amendments in that. And then there are a few ones that we need to pay attention to them, even though they were not highlighted. So please, Mr. Chairman, we request you...
Page what are you talking about? We have not started. What is the page? Which page are you talking about?
Section 29. If you go to section, it's clearly.
29 is highlighted.
Page 27.
If you go to 27, it's highlighted. 29, 1, 2, 3, 3 is highlighted.
Mr. Chairman,
you will see within 21 days, and then you go to 6, you see another highlighted. But if there are other areas that need to be looked at outside the highlighted one, you can also raise it.
Okay, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, but we've not started. We're just laying the foundation.
Okay, fine.
Starting from the first page of this document, can you tell us why you refer to this as an act to repeal the Electoral Acts 2022 and enact the Electoral Bill 2025 and for related matters? Why is it not amendment of the Electoral Act?
When we started this process, I believe we have over 100 bills for the amendments and some major areas in area of inclusion. One, the one that deals with the voting of the inmates. Secondly, the one that talks about early voting, and a lot of major areas that were removed, which makes it more, at least, different from the original proposal that we brought when we started. So it was really more detailed than this when we started. So I don't know what the House now feel. If it's still what's been taken as amendment or repeal. So we left to the House to decide.
Mr. Chairman, respected colleagues, what we are doing is we are amending the Electoral Act. We're not repealing. If you are repealing, it means you are setting aside the law.
Measuring tape. I won't bring measuring tape.
So what we are doing is amending. That's the correct caption.
So, long title, as amended, carried?
Carried.
What is the amendment? Is it as it contains in the report or as proposed by our leader?
Don't mind them, you are protected. Your question is relevant. The amendment as proposed by the former Deputy Speaker. That is what we agreed to. Nice question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, my dear colleagues, we are amending a bill, and this bill went through first reading, second reading, and then before it was referred to the committee. So I think that it is only the bill that came before us that went through first and second reading that we can consider. We cannot now consider the entire act which didn't pass through the process. So if we start with all the clauses here, then we are looking at the entire Electoral Act. We have the highlighted clauses that are the areas that were proposed by members, and I think that those are the areas we should look at, sir.
We are not repealing and reenacting, so it limits us to the one that we are amending. And the one we are amending is as proposed before the House and debated in the House. So because all the act was not debated in the House, we cannot go through all the act at this level. The position, legislative procedure is that those that were submitted in this House, debated in this House, and referred to the committee upon which they have made their recommendation is what we should be considering. And to that extent, what is highlighted are the things that we are amending. Carried? So that will take us now to page 3, where there is the first highlighting.
It was never debated.
Page 3.
I say the procedure, sir, has always been, and which you are aware, when we are doing constitutional report, we go clause by clause. Like, for instance, this one now, if under the independent National Electoral Commission, as established by clause 153, it's not clause 153, section 153. So these are part of the mistake that you find, sir. And so it is not correct. If we go that interjection, we may find ourselves in trouble like this one.
But we have to be serving.
It's a subsection.
Yes, sir.
Can you go to the proposed electoral bill? He's been corrected. It's clause 153. So please let us focus on those highlighted ones so that we can finish up as proposed by the committee and as recommended by the committee. Thank you. So let's go to page 3, please. Focus on the highlighted for now.
Mr. Chairman, the committee brought this as an act to repeal the Electoral Act, which you rightly noted that it should be an amendment. Mr. Chairman, you have drawn us to the point that we should focus on the highlighted provisions or clauses. But, Mr. Chairman, I want us to be circumspect because it appears that the committee brought this as a repeal enactment. Otherwise, the practice has always been that if we are having clause-by-clause consideration, we just focus on those clauses, and it comes like that before the committee. The way it is, they are bringing the entire bill as if it is repealed. There may have been some clauses inside this document that do not deserve our consideration. So, Mr. Chairman, my point now is that we suspend this while they give to us the document that contains...
No, that is a typo error. Long title.
Otherwise,
no. Sit down.
Otherwise, we are going to run into some error.
You are ruled out of order.
Mr. Chairman, I propose a bill for an amendment of the Electoral Act was passed at second reading by this Honourable House. However, the committee cleverly or deliberately omitted my bill out of the compendium when the report was late. I raised an objection, and you presided over the sitting that day, and you specifically ruled that my bill must be included before the report will be considered. Today, we are considering this report, and going by your rule of engagement, you now said only those areas that have been highlighted. My bill has not been, the section, page 43, page 40, has not been highlighted at all. Dealing with section 51 over voting. We have amended, this House has amended at second reading this bill on over voting. We passed the bill at second reading over voting section 51. But it is now the committee refused to effect the changes made by the House.
We cannot sit here and tell a committee what to write in their report. But if we are considering what has been recommended to us, and you find out there is anything that needs to be adjusted, you can highlight it. Let us stick to the report that is before us, not what is not before us. Honorable Fulata, I remember the incident, and I'm surprised if you didn't make this bill. We will look into that. Please. Please, honorable colleagues, we are just going to go to the clause. That is not how everybody will speak. If we really want to finish this, if we get to the clause you have issue with, you let us know, and then we'll go to the other clause. That is how it will happen here. I will not recognize the raising of hands unless it has to do with the clause by clause consideration. Thank you very much. Clause 3, sub 3.
Got it. Chairman, I have issue with clause 3.
Welcome back to the Gavel. We will continue the consideration of the Electoral Act Amendment Bill as passed by the House next week, so stay tuned. Well, let's move on now. Recall that Representative Abdul Samad Dasuki had raised the matter of privilege concerning the new tax laws on the 17th of December last year, alleging that the signed and gazetted copies were different from what was passed and harmonized by both chambers of the National Assembly. A committee was eventually set up by the leadership to look into the matter. Well, on the 31st of December last year, a statement was released by Bula Biala, who was the Director of Information of the National Assembly on behalf of the clerk to the National Assembly. And according to that statement, the clerk is working with the federal government printing press to publish the duly certified and assented acts in compliance with the law. The statement also says these gazettes are expected to be ready on or before the 1st of January 2026. And while the clerk initiates the gazetting process, the statutory responsibility for printing and publication rests with the federal government's printing press. That statement goes on to say that to strengthen institutional processes, the National Assembly is reviewing procedures for transmission and gazetting of bills, and henceforth all bills for presidential assent will be routed through presidential liaison officers, and no request for gazetting an act of the National Assembly will be entertained by the printing press unless initiated by the clerk to the National Assembly or his authorized representative. End of quote. All right, let's move on. The House Committee on Niger Delta Development Commission received the commission for its budget defense on the 30th of December 2025. Here's how that went.
This budget represents hope, opportunity, and the promise of a better quality life. As a committee, we recognize that our duty goes beyond mere approval. It is our responsibility to subject this budget to a rigorous scrutiny to ensure that every allocation translates into tangible outcome for the people, particularly in infrastructural development, human capital development, youth empowerment, and economic inclusion.
For the 2025 budget, our main goal is to strengthen our foundation for sustainable economic growth, making a shift from transactional to transformational approaches. A key focus is sectoral funding allocation, moving away from line item budgeting that has hindered contractors from resuming projects. The 2025 budget team, Budget of Consolidation, proposes 1.75 trillion based on revenue assumption. This presents a 9% decrease from 2024, driven by a no borrowing approach. Below are also tables and charts explaining my position. The proposed personnel budget estimate for 2025 personnel is 47.5 billion. We shall sustain our effort in managing our overhead costs. Accordingly, overhead costs are projected at 96.4 billion.
This week on Constituency Focus, we'll speak to Representative Clement Jimbo, representing Abak Etim Ekboika Federal Constituency of Akwa Ibom State in the House of Representatives.
First, we've empowered our people in terms of training on different skill sets. Is it ICT? Is it on soil plastering? And the rest of them. Over 400 of our constituents have benefited from that. Then we move into capital projects, road grading, solar street light, building of schools. So far, we have installed solar street light across the different communities in my federal constituency, not less than 200 stands of solar street light. Remember when subsidy was removed and the prices of petroleum products skyrocketed, and we thought it wise to make sure these communities are provided for with solar-powered borehole where they don't need to use generator or use fuel to power the boreholes. So these projects are currently on, and people are benefiting from it. We've equally started and completed town hall meetings in these communities. We've equally assisted our people to register for JAM, registered at least 300 of our people in JAM and they've sat for the exam. Many of them have gained admission and they are currently undergoing their studies. We have equally graded nothing less than 30 kilometers of roads, rural roads, which were completely impassable before then. And so far, these roads are accessible for people, rural dwellers, to access this road easily, to make life bearable for them. We've equally done a lot of empowerment in terms of reaching out to our constituents that really supported us. We've empowered them with cars, we've empowered them with sewing machines, we've empowered them with grinding machine, we've empowered them with motorcycles, we've empowered them with agricultural equipment and tools, and we've equally followed it up with all kinds of cash empowerment. For example, the last one we did was to select market women and empower them with a minimum of 50,000 naira, about 93 of them. We've equally given scholarship to some of our constituents. We've equally empowered them with bursary, the students that are in tertiary institutions. And we've given a laptop to many of them that our abilities is capable of doing. So we have done a whole lot of empowerment in this regard. Then if you want to talk about the bills that we have sponsored and the motions that we have moved in this direction, which is equally gaining traction in terms of empowerment of our people. I recall when I was inaugurated, I brought a situation in my community which is called Obiobom, a dilapidated bridge that has been there since 2001. And I brought it to the attention of the federal government in the parliament, and federal government has intervened. Right now, that bridge has been constructed for our people to benefit. We've equally sponsored a bill for the establishment of a federal college of laboratory scientists in my community, in Abak to be precise. And that bill, by the grace of God, has scaled through first reading, second reading, public hearing, third reading, and it has been passed in the House, just waiting for the President to assent for that to be swung into action. And of course, the many motions and petitions we have equally laid in the House that have equally brought succor to so many of our constituents, not just my constituents, but Nigerians at large, because we've intervened for them to be reinstated in their workplace. We've equally intervened for them to be paid their arrears and a monument backlog and the rest of them. So by the grace of God, within the 1 year and about 6-7 months, we have occupied this office. Our people have really benefited immensely and from the robust engagement of our legislative engagement.
Well, that's the Gavel this week. Thanks for your time. A quick reminder that we will continue our series on the process of the consideration of the report of the House Committee on Electoral Matters to give you an insight into how your electorate or your representatives reacted to and voted during the consideration of the report. Well, that's the Gavel this week. Thanks for your time. I'm Terry Ikumi. Goodbye.